Good afternoon, grade 7. Welcome to Suyu National High School, where excellence is our way of life. So before we start our lesson, I'd like to remind you to continue practicing the meaning of stock words. Number 1 is to wash and sanitize your hands regularly. Number 2 is to wear your face mask and face shields wherever you go and avoid going in crowded places. And then number 3 is to observe physical distancing. Okay? So our lesson for today is to identify hazards and risks. So this is our course in PLE 7 and 8 Animal Production. So I am Mrs. Jinky Rivera Acosta, your PLE subject teacher. So our objectives are to identify hazards and risks, define hazards and risks, identify workplace and hazards and risks, and then explain and classify the types of hazards. Okay, so I want you to sit back and relax so we could finish our lesson on time. And don't worry, I prepared an activity later on that we will shortly love. Okay, let's start with what I know. So I want you to bring out your modules and turn it to page Roman numeral number 3. So you can pause this part of the lesson so that you can answer your activity well. So you can use pad paper or you can use your cell phone to answer the what I know part. Okay, so you are given 10 minutes to answer this part. So later on, we will check it and then we will try to answer at least 3 questions so that we could finish this lesson. Don't worry, we will going to answer naman the other from number 4 to 10. Okay, so you may pause now. Alright, so I think you are now done. Let us try to check. So, for example, in question number 1, what do you call the concern of raising animals for meat, fiber, milk, eggs, or other products? So is it letter A, horticulture, letter B, animal production, letter C, crop production, or letter D, soil science? So the correct answer is the animal production, which is letter B. You know, you just have to answer or to correct it honestly. You don't have to be honest. Okay, so I don't want dishonest here. Okay, so you just have to be true to yourself. Number 1 is letter B. Okay, let's go to number 2. Which kind of farming raises domesticated birds such as chickens, ducks, turkeys, and geese to produce meat or eggs for food? Letter A, poultry raising. Letter B, swine production. Letter C, cattle raising. Or letter D, poultry. The correct answer is the poultry raising. So there is already the keywords there, the chickens, the ducks, turkeys. Okay, so let's tackle it later. Number 3. Which of the following may inflict harm to human due to bites, kicks, crushing, roaming, and trampling? Letter A, fungus. Letter B, plants. Letter C, animals. Or letter D, mouse. The correct answer is letter C, animals. Very good. Now, let us try to answer or let us try to see the correct answer of number 4 to 10. So here is the correct answer. So number 4, letter D. Number 5, letter B. 6B, 7B, 8A, 9C, and 10B. Okay, so count the number of checks and then send it to me later via messenger. You just have to picture it. Okay, let's move on. So let's have an activity again. Turn your modules into page 1 and the activity for it is to identify the terms or concepts as described by the following statements. So choose the correct answer or word phrase inside the box. So these are your choices. So there are 6 choices as you can see in the screen. So number 1 is the animal production. Second choice is illness. Third is physical hazard, followed by biological hazard, chemical hazard, and the plant propagation. Okay, so you just have to picture this one or screenshot para may reference kayo as we go to answer on the next slide. Okay? So, pwede nyo siyang i-screenshot or picture para ma-move ko na to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So, again, we have 10 minutes to do this or less than 10 minutes maybe. Okay, let's try to answer number 1. So, number 1, this refers to substances that poses a threat to the health of living organisms, primarily that of humans. This can include medical waste or samples of microorganisms, viruses, or toxins from living sources that can affect human health. So what is your answer? Let us see. The correct answer is biological hazard. Let us see number 2. A hazardous solid, liquid, or gas. It can be pure substance consisting of one ingredient or a mixture of substances which can harm the health of the person who is exposed to it. What do you think is the answer? So you are correct. This is a chemical hazard. Okay, very good. Number 3. An agent, factor, or circumstance that can cause harm with contact. They can be classified as type of occupational hazard or environmental hazard such as heat and colds, stress, vibration, and noise. So what do you think is the answer? Okay, so the correct answer is the physical hazard. Okay, don't worry, we will tackle it later as we go on to our lesson. Alright, so number 4, this is a disease or a period of sickness affecting the body or mind. There's a keyword there, a disease and a sickness. So the answer is correct. It's illness. Illness is, other term of illness is a disease or sickness. Okay, and then number 5, the production of goods such as meat, dairy, wool, and leather. What do you think is the answer? The correct answer is animal production. Alright, so that's all about the activity for this part. Okay, let's continue. So here are the guide questions before we're going to watch the video on what is all about hazards and risks. Okay, so number 1, what is the difference between hazards and risks? You may take down notes about this part. Number 2, what are the classifications of hazard? Number 3, how does a hazard causes harm to people? And then number 4, how do we prevent ourselves from a hazard? Alright, so I want you to take down notes, or if you're using a cell phone, you can screenshot so that you could answer our assessment part later. So this is the video all about occupational safety and health. Types of hazards. What is hazard? Thank you. So let's go back to our guide questions. So what do you think is the difference between hazards and risk? So you may write your answer to your notebooks. So you can picture it later and send it to me. Right. So the difference between hazard and risk is that hazard is something that has the potential to cause harm, while risk are those that create or that has the chance or the probable that cause a harm to people when it is being exposed. Okay? Pag sinabi natin hazard, yung nag-create siya ng harm to people, while risk is being exposed or contacted to that hazard. That's why, okay, let's go to question number 2. What are the classification of hazard? Okay, the classification of hazards are, according to the video, there are 5, which are the physical hazards, biological hazards, chemical hazard, ergonomic hazard, and the psychosocial hazard. Okay, how does a hazard causes harm to people? Paano nagkukos ng harm ang hazard sa atin? Sige nga. Okay, so a hazard causes harm to people when it's being exposed to that kind of hazard. For example, you went into the farm, a poultry farm, and you just use your slippers alone, and then suddenly there is a snake that is coming from the forest, kasi nga farm siya, diba? And then that snake has bitten your lower part of your body. So what do you think will happen to you? So you're going to be harmed kasi nga kinagat ka na ng ahas. That's why, how do we prevent ourselves from a hazard? Okay, in question number 3, this is related in question number 3, you're going to prevent yourselves from bitten by a snake if you could use the right proper or the right personal protective equipment such as boots, diba? Kung nagsuot ka na ng butas, then hindi ka makakagat. So that is the explanation or some explanation of this question. Okay, let's move on. So there are 4 main operations for identified involving dangerous hazards in animal production. Okay, so we have the animal handling, manure storage, electrical and power management, and then number 4 is the machinery operation. And then my question is, why is animal handling considered as a hazard? Because the animal itself is a hazard. Because workers get physically attacked when an animal is out of control, such as kick, bite, being stepped on, and pushed during milking. Hearing loss due to animal noise, and allergy, inflammation, and influenza infection. So, nagiging hazard ang animal handling specifically if we are being in contact with an animal. So, for example, bigay ako ng example. If you have a dog that na very close kayo ng dog, and we all know that dog has a rabies, diba? And then, suddenly kinagat ka niya because you are handling the animal. So that's the time that you are being harmed. So your dog is a hazard. Tama? Yes. Next one. How about manure storage? Paano nagiging hazard ang manure? Anyway, manure is the Tagalog of tae. Tae ng animal. So let us see. So manure is toxic gas generated from manure such as ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, methane, and carbon dioxide because they are usually stored in confined systems without proper ventilation. Next one, there are high levels of toxic gases accumulate fast in enclosed and limited spaces and could be fatal. Workers without proper personal protective equipment can be killed in only few minutes. So, how can a manure be toxic? What do you think is the reason? A manure can be toxic because most of the animals eat feeds, starter, grower, fisher, and we all know that feeds is being made by substance mixture chemicals. So, nagiging toxic yung kain nila, it's because of the corn. Nagdadigest nila, nagiging ammonia. And then if you don't smell it directly, that's the cause of asthma or other allergy that nagiging cause ng problem. So that's also a hazard. Okay, so let's go to electrical and power management. Not following a standard procedure of tag-offs energy supply, improper installation and maintenance of electrical system are main reason that workers get electrical shock. So, number 4 is the machinery operation. So, if you're going to operate something, especially kapag matataas na voltage yung kailangan, you just need to be skillful. Tama? Yes. Because if you don't have skills, you cannot operate that specific machine. Without proper training on operating machinery systems, hazards includes such as misusing the tractor and skid steer, loader operation, and being stuck or caught in between machines. Not using the seatbelt and control interlock system may result in injuries. Of course, there are people naman that they know how to use that machine, but they are failed to do or to what do you call that? They failed to follow the instructions. They failed to use the seatbelt. That's why nahulog siya, nadaganan ng machines, na-harm na naman siya. That's another kind of hazard. Okay, so let's have an activity in what's more. I think that's in page 6. But before that, let me ask you once again. So what are the 4 main main operations were identified involve dangerous hazards in animals. So as you can see in the screen, it's animal handling, manure storage, electrical and power management, and the machinery operation. Please take down notes of that. And because of that, we're going to have an activity for this lesson. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so I'd like you to have quizzes.com. You search on the Google, quizzes.com, and then enter a code and join a game. I will be giving the code into our group chat or in our group page so that you could access the link. Okay? So you are going to identify what kind of hazards are the following sources of environmental agents. So dito maglalaro tayo. We're going to compete with each other. And sabay-sabay dapat mag-enter na code. Bibigay ko siya dun sa group chat. Alright, yan. Quizzes.com, enter a code, join a group. Don't worry, this is very easy. Your choices are only the classifications of hazards, which are the biological, physical, and chemical. Okay. So, your assessment, guys, just answer the summative assessment that I gave you. That is 1 to 20, if I'm not mistaken, 1 to 25. Okay. So, this is your application, and our application, and what I can do. Okay. So, visit an animal farm in the community or small-scale animal producers. Ask your parents or some adult to accompany you or the group. Observe the protocol like wearing of mask. Always remember that. Face shield and gloves. Interview the owner or workers in the farm about the different hazards and risks they are exposed to. Make a comprehensive written report. The rubric score guide for your output is on page 8. So, yun ang gagamitin ko to give you scores. Okay? So, please lang, pag lumabas, doon lang sa malapit. Malapit na lang sa inyo. Huwag nang lumayo pa. Okay? So, magpa-accompany kayo to your parents or to your kuya, to your ate. Okay? And then, I think that's all for today. I hope you have learned something today. And before we're going to dismiss, I'd like you to give you this quote from the internet by Martin Luther King Jr. And then, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you for listening and participating. Have a nice day. Again, I am your teacher, Mrs. Jindy Riveral Acosta, your subject teacher in PL. Have a blessed working.